The Sacred Bond. First document. Marcus Chen wiped the grease from his hands with a worn rag, squinting at the alien engine that had been giving him trouble for the past 3 hours. The Zephyrian transport vessel sat in Bay 7 of the Frontier Station, its sleek blue hull reflecting the harsh work lights. The owner, a tall humanoid with crystalline skin that shifted colors with his emotions, paced nervously nearby. "Human Marcus," the alien said, his voice carrying the musical quality typical of his species. "My family waits for me on Kepler 442b. The Harvest Festival begins in 2 cycles, and I promised my daughter I would return with gifts from the Outer Rim." Marcus nodded, not looking up from the engine housing. He had learned the Zephyrian language during his 5 years on the station, along with a dozen others. Being the only human engineer in this sector made him valuable, but also isolated. Most species preferred their own kind for technical work, but Marcus had built a reputation for fixing the unfixable. "I know, Kethvar," Marcus replied in fluent Zephyrian. "Your quantum drive coupling is cracked. It's a delicate repair, but I can do it." Kethvar's skin shifted to a deep purple, indicating surprise. Most humans couldn't pronounce Zephyrian names correctly, let alone speak the language with such clarity. His crystalline features softened, and Marcus caught a glimpse of something that looked almost like respect. "You speak our tongue well for a human?" Kethvar observed. Marcus shrugged, diving back into the engine compartment. "I fix engines. Engines don't care what language you curse them in, but understanding the specs helps." The repair was complex. Zephyrian quantum drives operated on principles that human technology was only beginning to understand. The crystalline matrices that channeled the quantum energy were grown, not manufactured, and they responded to specific harmonic frequencies. Marcus had spent months learning to tune these frequencies by ear, something that amazed even Zephyrian engineers. As he worked, Marcus felt the familiar calm that came with solving mechanical puzzles. His hands moved with practiced precision, adjusting microscopic components while monitoring energy readings on his modified scanner. The universe made sense when he was fixing things. People were complicated, but machines followed logical rules. "How long have you been alone out here, human Marcus?" Kethvar asked suddenly. Marcus paused, a delicate crystal coupling halfway to its housing. "What do you mean?" "You have no clan markings, no family scent. You work alone, eat alone, sleep alone. This is not natural for any sentient species." "Humans are adaptable," Marcus said simply, resuming his work. The truth was more complicated. Marcus had left Earth after losing his family in the Titan colony collapse. His wife Sarah and daughter Emma had been visiting the research station when the atmospheric processors failed. He had been on Luna, working on a new propulsion system, completely unaware until it was too late. The guilt had driven him to the frontier, where he could lose himself in work and avoid the painful memories. "There," Marcus announced, stepping back from the engine. "Try starting her up now." Kethvar moved to the controls. His movements graceful despite his 7-foot frame. The engine hummed to life with a pure, crystalline tone that indicated perfect harmonic alignment. Kethvar's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a warm gold. "Incredible," he breathed. "The resonance is perfect, better than when the ship was new." Marcus nodded, gathering his tools. "The previous repair work was sloppy. I realigned the entire matrix grid. Should give you another 50,000 light years before you need a major overhaul." "How much do I owe you?" Kethvar asked, reaching for his credit pad. "Standard rate, 200 credits. Kethvar stared at him. This repair would cost 5,000 credits on Zephyr Prime and take a full repair crew 3 days. You did it alone in 3 hours. "I'm not on Zephyr Prime," Marcus replied. "And you said your daughter was waiting." The Zephyrian's skin shifted to deep blue, an emotion Marcus didn't recognize. Kethavar stood silent for a long moment, then spoke in a voice filled with something that sounded like awe. "Human Marcus, you have honored my family with your skill and generosity. In our culture, such a debt cannot be repaid with mere credits." Marcus felt uncomfortable with the formal tone. "Look, it's just a repair job. The credits are fine." "No," Kethavar said firmly. "You do not understand. You have made it possible for me to keep my promise to my child. You have given me my honor. Among my people, this creates a sacred bond." Before Marcus could object, Kethavar began speaking in what sounded like formal Zephyrian, his voice taking on a ritual cadence. Marcus caught some of the words, but the dialect was ancient, ceremonial. He recognized phrases about honor, family, and debt. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked nervously. "I am declaring you clan brother to my family," Kethavar replied, his skin now a brilliant white that pulsed with each word. "My wife Yelnara and my daughter Zinthara are now your clan sisters. We share honor, we share burden, we share joy." Marcus stepped backward, nearly tripping over his toolbox. "Wait, I don't think you should—" "It is done," Kethavar said, his skin settling into a warm, steady gold. "When you are ready to meet them, they will welcome you as family. Until that day, know that you have a home among the crystal gardens of Kepler 442b. The alien bowed deeply, a gesture of profound respect in Zephyrian culture. When he straightened, his expression had changed. Where before there had been polite gratitude, now there was something deeper, the look one family member gives another. "Kethavar, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm not looking for—" "Family is not something one looks for, clan brother," Kethavar interrupted gently. "It is something one finds, often when least expected." Over the next few days, Marcus tried to put the strange encounter out of his mind. He had work to do, other ships to repair, other problems to solve. But Kethavar's words kept echoing in his thoughts. The idea of family, of belonging somewhere, was both terrifying and appealing. His quarters on the station were functional but sterile. A bed, a workbench, a small kitchen unit, no personal effects except for a hollow photo of Sarah and Emma that he kept face down on his nightstand. Looking at it hurt too much, but throwing it away felt like betraying their memory. 3 days after the repair, Marcus was working on a Tyrillian freight hauler when his comm unit chimed. The message was in Zephyrian, the text flowing across his screen in the elegant script of Kethavar's people. "Clan brother Marcus, I have arrived safely home. Yelnara asks when you will visit, and Zinthara wonders if humans like starfruit candy. They are eager to meet the one who made their father's return possible. Your place at our table waits. Kethavar of the Crystal Gardens." Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Part of him wanted to delete it, to maintain the isolation that had become his shield against pain. But another part, a part he had buried under years of grief and guilt, whispered that maybe Kethavar was right. Maybe family wasn't something you lost forever when tragedy struck. Maybe it was something you could find again in the most unexpected places. He started to compose a reply 3 times, deleting each attempt. What did he know about Zephyrian families? What did he know about being a clan brother? What if he disappointed them? Or worse, what if caring about them led to losing them too? The freight hauler's engine chose that moment to backfire, filling the bay with acrid smoke. Marcus cursed in 3 languages and dove back into the repair work, using the familiar rhythm of mechanical problem-solving to quiet his racing thoughts. Later that evening, as he sat in the station's observation deck watching ships come and go, Marcus found himself thinking about Kethavar's daughter, Zinthara. The name meant Little Starlight in Zephyrian. She was probably curious about humans, maybe a little nervous about meeting one. Emma had been curious about everything, always asking questions, always eager to learn. The memory hit him like a physical blow. Emma's laugh, bright and musical, her small hand in his as they walked through the Luna City gardens, the way she looked at him with complete trust, absolute certainty that her father could fix anything, solve any problem. But he hadn't been able to fix the atmospheric processors, hadn't even known they were failing. Marcus closed his eyes, forcing himself to breathe. When he opened them again, a Zephyrian merchant vessel was docking at the far end of the station. Its hull gleamed with the same blue-silver finish as Kethvar's ship, and Marcus found himself wondering if the pilot had family waiting at home. Someone counting the days until their return. His comm unit chimed again. This time the message was shorter, simpler. The starfruit trees are blooming, clan brother. Zinthara says they look like tiny suns. Kethvar. Marcus stared at the message until the words blurred. Then, slowly, he began to type a reply. Tell Zinthara that humans love starfruit candy, especially when it's made by new family members. I'd like to see those starfruit trees when I can get leave from the station. Thank her for asking about me. Marcus. He sent the message before he could change his mind. For the first time in 5 years, the idea of family didn't make him want to run. It made him want to learn what it meant to be a clan brother, to understand the bonds that connected people across species and star systems. The next morning brought news that would change everything. A distress signal from a coalition research vessel missing for 3 weeks in the Veil Nebula. The ship carried 37 crew members, including families. The station commander was assembling a rescue team, and they needed someone who could repair damaged ships in hostile conditions. Marcus volunteered immediately. As he prepared his equipment, he thought about Kethvar's words. Family is something one finds when least expected. Maybe it was time to stop running from the possibility of connection and start running toward it instead. The Sacred Bond. Second document. The rescue shuttle cut through the Veil Nebula's swirling gases like a silver needle through cosmic silk. Marcus checked his equipment for the 10th time, his modified scanner humming softly as it mapped the unusual energy patterns around them. The nebula was beautiful but treacherous, filled with gravitic anomalies and quantum storms that could tear apart unshielded vessels. "Contact ahead," announced Captain Jorik, a gruff Tyrillian with scarred blue skin and cybernetic implants where his left eye used to be. "Looks like our missing research ship, but she's in bad shape." Through the shuttle's reinforced viewport, Marcus could see the coalition vessel Meridian hanging dead in space. Her hull was blackened and twisted, sections torn away by what looked like gravitational stress. Emergency lights flickered weakly along her remaining superstructure. "Life signs?" asked Dr. Voss, the mission's chief medical officer. "Weak but present," Jorik replied. 23 souls still aboard. Looks like they found shelter in the central habitat ring." Marcus studied the damage patterns, his engineer's eye picking out the critical systems. "Main power is gone. They're running on backup fuel cells, maybe 6 hours left. We need to get them power and patch the hull breaches before we can attempt extraction." "Can you fix her?" Jorik asked. Marcus was already moving toward the airlock. "I can try." The journey across the space between ships was eerie. The nebula's gases created shifting patterns of light that made it hard to judge distance or direction. Marcus's suit lights cut through the glowing mist as he approached the Meridian's damaged hull. The quantum scanner on his belt was going crazy, picking up energy signatures unlike anything in his database. "Marcus to shuttle," he spoke into his comm. "The damage is worse than it looks from outside. Something tore right through their quantum core housing. But I think I can reroute power from the backup generators if I can reach the engineering deck." "Copy that. Be careful in there. The gravitational fields are fluctuating." Marcus found an intact airlock and began the careful process of cutting through the damaged mechanism. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Emergency strips provided just enough light to navigate the twisted corridors. The gravity was wrong too, fluctuating between normal and near zero as he moved deeper into the ship. He found the first survivor in a supply closet that had been sealed against vacuum. A young human woman, maybe 25, unconscious but breathing. Her ID badge read, Dr. Sarah Chen, Xenobiology. The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Sarah. Like his wife. "This is Marcus," he called on his comm. "Found the first survivor. Human female, alive but unconscious. Where's that medical team?" "On our way," came Dr. Voss's voice. "Keep looking. The life signs are clustered in Section C." Marcus continued through the damaged ship, finding survivors one by one. A Centaurian engineer with a broken leg, a pair of Zephyrian scientists who had managed to create a small atmospheric pocket. Each rescue made him think of his own lost family, of chances not taken and words not spoken. In the central habitat ring, he found the main group of survivors. They had barricaded themselves into the ship's recreation area, using emergency force fields to maintain atmosphere. Among them were families, couples, children who looked up at him with frightened but hopeful eyes. "Are you the rescue team?" asked a middle-aged human man who seemed to be in charge. "Part of it," Marcus replied, already examining the emergency power systems. "I'm here to get your life support stabilized. The medical team is right behind me." As he worked on restoring power, Marcus found himself listening to the survivors' stories. The Meridian had been studying the nebula's unique quantum properties when gravitational waves from an unknown source had torn through their ship. They had been drifting for 3 weeks, rationing air and water, taking turns staying awake to monitor systems. "My daughter kept asking when Daddy was coming home," whispered one of the women, a Tyrillian with deep purple skin. "I didn't know what to tell her." Marcus's hands stilled on the power coupling he was installing. "How old is she?" 7 standard years. She's sleeping in the corner there." Marcus looked where the woman pointed and saw a small figure curled up under a thermal blanket. Even in sleep, the child's face showed the strain of the past weeks. She looked fragile, vulnerable, exactly like Emma had at that age. "What's her name?" Marcus asked softly. "Kira. She wanted to be an engineer like her father when she grows up." The words hit harder than Marcus expected. He forced himself to focus on the repair work, but his hands were shaking now, not from cold or fear, but from memory. Emma had said the same thing once, watching him work on their family shuttle. "I want to fix things like Daddy," she had announced proudly. "There," Marcus said, stepping back from the power junction. "You should have full life support now. Heat, air recycling, the works." The survivors cheered weakly as warmth began flowing through the ventilation systems. The little Tyrillian girl stirred and opened her eyes, looking around in confusion before spotting Marcus. "Are you here to take us home?" she asked in accented standard. Marcus knelt down beside her, his throat tight. "That's the plan, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" "Scared," she admitted, "but Mama says brave people can still be scared." "Your mama's right," Marcus replied. "The bravest person I ever knew was scared sometimes, too." Over the next several hours, Marcus worked with the rescue team to stabilize the Meridian and prepare the survivors for transfer. It was dangerous work, requiring precision and speed as the nebula's gravitational fields grew stronger. But every time he looked at little Kira, every time he saw the hope in the survivors' eyes, he pushed harder. "Marcus," came Jorik's voice over the comm. "We've got a problem. The nebula's destabilizing. Something's causing massive gravitational waves. We need to evacuate now, or we're all going to be trapped here." Marcus looked around the habitat ring. 23 people depending on him, depending on his ability to fix what was broken, including a little girl who wanted to be an engineer and a woman named Sarah who had never asked to be lost in space. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 30 minutes before the waves get too strong for our shields." Marcus ran the calculations in his head. 30 minutes to transfer 23 people, including wounded survivors, across unstable space to the rescue shuttle. It would be close. Very close. "Start the evacuation," he ordered. "I'll stay behind to monitor the power systems." "Marcus?" "No," Dr. Voss's voice cut in. "If those waves hit while you're still aboard, you'll be trapped." "Someone needs to keep the life support running during the transfer," Marcus replied calmly. "I know these systems better than anyone." The truth was more complex. Marcus had lost his family because he wasn't there when they needed him. He wouldn't make that mistake again. These people were going home to families who loved them. Children were going to see their parents again. That was worth any risk. The evacuation began with the wounded first. Marcus watched through the porthole as the medical team carefully moved unconscious survivors across to the shuttle. Each trip took precious minutes, and the gravitational readings were getting worse. "Marcus!" came a small voice behind him. He turned to see Kira approaching, her mother close behind. "Time to go, sweetheart," Marcus said gently. "I want to thank you," Kira said solemnly. "Mama says you saved us all." Marcus knelt down to her level. "We saved each other. That's what people do." "Will you visit us when we get home? I want to show you my engineering kit." The words nearly broke Marcus's composure. "I'd like that very much." As Kira and her mother were transferred to the shuttle, Marcus received another comm from Kethvar. His clan brother's message was brief, but urgent. "Marcus, I felt through the clan bond that you are in danger. Whatever you are doing, remember that you have family waiting for you. Come home safe." "Kethvar." Marcus stared at the message in surprise. Zephyrians claimed their clan bonds allowed them to sense each other's emotional states across vast distances. He had dismissed it as superstition, but the timing was uncanny. "Final group ready for transfer," Jorik announced. "That's everyone except you, Marcus." Marcus looked around the now empty habitat ring. His scanner showed massive gravitational waves building at the nebula's edge, waves that would crush any ship caught in their path. But the power systems were stable. The emergency life support would keep running even if the main generators failed. "Go," he told Jorik. "I'm right behind you." But as Marcus moved toward the airlock, a new alarm began sounding. One of the power couplings he had installed was overloading, damaged by the increasing gravitational stress. If it failed, the emergency systems would go down with it. Any delay in the evacuation would become a death sentence. Marcus looked toward the shuttle, where 23 people waited for him to join them. Then he looked at the failing power coupling. He could fix it, but it would take time they didn't have. Time that would trap him aboard the Meridian when the gravitational waves hit. For a moment, he thought of Emma, remembered her voice saying she wanted to fix things like Daddy. Maybe this was how he could honor that memory, by fixing what was broken, by making sure other children made it home safely. Marcus activated his comm one last time. "Tell the survivors I'll see them on the other side," he said quietly. "And tell Kethvar that his clan brother understands what family means now." Then he turned toward the failing power coupling and began to work. The Sacred Bond. Third document. The power coupling sparked dangerously as Marcus worked with desperate precision. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, rewiring the damaged connections while gravitational waves pulsed through the ship's hull. Each wave grew stronger, threatening to tear the Meridian apart completely. "Marcus!" Jorik's voice crackled over the comm. "The waves are accelerating! We have to leave now!" Marcus didn't look up from his work. "Give me 2 more minutes." "You don't have 2 minutes. The next wave will crush anything in its path." Through the porthole, Marcus could see the rescue shuttle's engines glowing as Jorik prepared for emergency departure. The right choice was to save the people they had already rescued. Marcus understood that. But he also understood that sometimes the right choice wasn't the only choice. "Tell my clan brother that I kept my promise," Marcus said into his comm. Tell him family isn't about being there at the end. It's about making sure the people you love have a future. He cut the connection and focused entirely on the repair. The coupling was more damaged than he had initially thought, its quantum matrix fractured by the gravitational stress. But Marcus had learned to work with alien technology to understand the underlying principles that made it function. He began rerouting power through secondary pathways, creating a web of connections that could withstand the increasing gravitational pressure. Outside, the nebula's gases swirled faster, forming patterns that looked almost alive. Marcus could feel the ship groaning around him as space itself twisted and warped. His scanner was screaming warnings about imminent structural failure, but the power grid was holding. The survivors would have life support for days if needed. Then something unexpected happened. A new voice came over his comm, speaking in formal Zephyrian. "Clan Brother Marcus, this is Yelnara of the Crystal Gardens. I am coming for you." Marcus nearly dropped his tools in shock. "Yelnara, you're supposed to be on Kepler 442b. "I was," came the calm reply, "until the clan bond told me my brother was in mortal danger. No member of our family faces death alone." Through the porthole, Marcus saw a sleek Zephyrian vessel approaching through the nebula's chaotic energy fields. Its crystalline hull shifted through multiple colors as it navigated the gravitational anomalies with impossible grace. Only a master pilot could fly through such conditions. "This is insane," Marcus breathed. "You can't be here. The gravitational waves are no match for Zephyrian engineering when properly motivated," Yelnara interrupted. "Kethavar said you were stubborn. He failed to mention you were suicidal." Marcus found himself laughing despite the danger. "I'm not suicidal. I'm just finishing a repair job." "Then finish it quickly, brother. I have come too far to watch you die." The power coupling finally accepted the new configuration, its status lights shifting from critical red to stable green. Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before grabbing his tools and heading for the airlock. The Meridian would survive whatever the nebula threw at it now. Yelnara's ship had somehow positioned itself directly adjacent to the research vessel, its docking tube extended despite the turbulent gravitational fields. As Marcus cycled through the airlock, he got his first look at Kethvar's wife. She was tall like her husband, but where his crystalline skin was pale blue, hers was a deep silver that reflected light like a mirror. Her features were sharp and elegant, with eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. She moved with fluid grace despite the ship's erratic motion. "You are smaller than I expected," she said by way of greeting. "You are crazier than I expected," Marcus replied. Yelnara's skin shifted to what Marcus now recognized as amusement. "Kethvar said you would be interesting. Come. We must leave before the next gravitational pulse." As they departed the dying research vessel, Marcus watched through the cockpit windows as the Meridian was caught by a massive gravitational wave. The ship's hull bent and twisted, but the power grid he had repaired held firm. Emergency lights continued to glow along her length, beacon of hope in the chaotic nebula. "The rescue shuttle made it out safely," Yelnara reported, monitoring multiple displays with practiced ease. "All 23 survivors are en route to the medical station. Your repair work saved their lives." Marcus nodded, feeling a weight he hadn't realized he was carrying lift from his shoulders. "How did you get here so fast?" "Kepler 442b is 3 days away at maximum warp." "Not in a Zephyrian courier ship with its quantum drives properly aligned," Yelnara replied, with what might have been smugness. "Someone recently performed exceptional maintenance on my husband's vessel. The same harmonic principles apply to our fastest ships." They traveled in comfortable silence for a while, the nebula's chaotic beauty streaming past outside. Marcus found himself studying Yelnara as she piloted, noting the precise movements of her hands and the way her skin colors shifted with her concentration. There was something reassuring about her presence, a calm competence that reminded him of Sarah in some ways. "Why did you really come for me?" Marcus asked eventually. Yelnara considered the question for a long moment. "On Zephyr, we have a saying, the crystal that stands alone may shine brightest, but it also breaks easiest. You have been alone too long, brother. It has made you careless with your own life." "I'm not." "You stayed behind to repair a power coupling that any competent engineer could have fixed," Yelnara interrupted. "You risked your life not because it was necessary, but because you believe you do not matter as much as others. This is the thinking of someone who has forgotten their own worth." Marcus was quiet for a while, processing her words. "I lost my family," he said finally. "My wife and daughter. I wasn't there when they needed me. So now you try to be everywhere for everyone, as if this will somehow balance the cosmic scales." Yelnara's skin shifted to a gentle blue. "This is not how family works, brother. Family is not about perfect protection. It is about perfect love, even when protection fails." "I don't know how to do that anymore," Marcus admitted. "Then it is fortunate you have teachers," Yelnara replied. "Zinthara has been practicing her standard so she can speak with you properly. She has many questions about human engineering techniques." The thought of meeting Kethvar's daughter still made Marcus nervous, but it was a different kind of nervousness now. Not the terror of potential loss, but the uncertainty of new possibilities. They emerged from the nebula to find Kethvar's transport waiting for them, along with what looked like half the Zephyrian merchant fleet. Marcus counted at least a dozen ships, their crystalline hulls gleaming against the stars. "What is all this?" Marcus asked. "Word traveled quickly through our people," Yelnara explained. "When it became known that Kethvar had declared a human as clan brother, and that this human was risking his life to save strangers, many wanted to meet you. Curiosity, perhaps, but also respect." As they docked with Kethvar's ship, Marcus felt a flutter of anxiety. Meeting one new family member was daunting enough. Meeting an entire community was something else entirely. Kethvar was waiting in the docking bay, his skin cycling through multiple colors in what Marcus was learning to recognize as strong emotion. Behind him stood a smaller figure, clearly his daughter. Zinthara was perhaps 12 standard years old, with skin that sparkled like starlight and eyes full of eager curiosity. She wore what looked like a junior engineer's uniform, complete with a tool belt that was obviously sized for her smaller frame. "Clan Brother Marcus!" Kethvar's voice boomed as he embraced Marcus in a gesture that would have crushed a less robust human. "You have given me such worry. Yelnara said you were being heroically stupid." "That's not exactly how she put it," Marcus protested, but he was smiling. "Papa, you're embarrassing him," Zinthara said in careful standard. Her voice was musical like her father's, but with a higher pitch that reminded Marcus achingly of Emma. "Hello, Clan Uncle Marcus. I am pleased to meet you." Marcus knelt down to her level, just as he had with little Kira. "Hello, Zinthara. Your father tells me you're interested in engineering." Her skin brightened noticeably. "Yes. I have been studying human repair techniques. They are very different from ours, but equally elegant. Would you show me how you align quantum matrices by harmonic frequency? I have read about it, but never seen it done." Before Marcus could answer, other Zephyrians began arriving in the docking bay. Word of his arrival had indeed spread quickly, and it seemed like everyone wanted to meet the human who had become clan brother to one of their own. They came with questions about human technology, offers of trade agreements, and simple curiosity about his species. But it was Zinthara who stayed closest to him, her questions endless and her enthusiasm infectious. She wanted to know about Earth, about human families, about why he had chosen to work so far from his homeworld. Marcus found himself telling her about Sarah and Emma, sharing memories he had kept locked away for years. "They must have been very proud of you," Zinthara said solemnly when he finished. To have such a skilled father and husband. I hope so, Marcus replied quietly. I am proud to have you as clan uncle, she continued. Papa says you saved many families today. That is what family does, yes? We save each other. That evening, as the small fleet prepared to continue toward Zephyr's space, Marcus found himself on the observation deck of Kethvar's ship. The stars looked different here, constellations he didn't recognize stretching across the cosmic darkness. But for the first time in years, he didn't feel lost among them. Yelnara joined him at the viewport, carrying 2 cups of what smelled like Zephyrian tea. You are thinking very loudly, she observed. Marcus accepted the cup gratefully. Just processing everything that's happened. A week ago, I was just a mechanic on a frontier station. Now I'm apparently part of a Zephyrian clan. Do you regret it? Marcus considered the question, thinking about the events of the day, the rescue, the risk, the moment when he thought he might die alone in a crippled ship. But he also thought about Yelnara coming for him, about Kethvar's relief, about Zinthara's bright curiosity. No, he said finally, I don't regret it, but I'm not sure I understand it either. Understanding is not required for family, Yelnara replied. Only acceptance. You accepted us when you repaired my husband's ship with such care. We accepted you when we declared the clan bond. Everything else is simply learning to live with the consequences. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars wheel overhead. In the distance, Marcus could see the lights of the other Zephyrian ships, a small constellation of artificial stars carrying families through the darkness. Will you come to Kepler 442b? Yelnara asked eventually. Zinthara has prepared a workshop for you. She wishes to learn human engineering techniques properly. Marcus thought about his quarters back on the frontier station, sterile and empty and echoing with memories of loss. Then he thought about a young girl who wanted to fix things like her new clan uncle, about a family that had chosen him not because he was perfect, but because he had shown them kindness. Yes, he said quietly, I think I'd like that very much. As if summoned by his words, Zinthara appeared in the doorway of the observation deck. Clan Uncle Marcus, Papa says we will reach home tomorrow. Will you teach me about quantum harmonics then? I have so many questions. Marcus smiled, the expression feeling natural for the first time in years. I'd be honored to, little starlight. Zinthara's skin brightened with joy, and she disappeared back into the ship, no doubt to prepare even more questions. Yelnara watched her go with obvious affection. She has not been this excited about anything in months, she observed. You are good for her. She's good for me too, Marcus admitted. As the ship continued through the night, Marcus found himself thinking about the message he would send to little Kira when they reached communications range. The Tyrillian girl who wanted to be an engineer, whose mother had nearly lost hope in the darkness of the damaged ship. He would tell her that brave people could be scared, but they could also find family in the most unexpected places. The sacred bond that Kethvar had declared was real, Marcus realized. Not because of ancient ritual or mystical connection, but because they had chosen to make it real. Family wasn't about blood or species or even shared history. It was about showing up for each other when it mattered most. And tomorrow, for the first time in 5 years, Marcus was going home.